What up, motherfuckers? It's your boy once again, the hater up in this bitch, and we're gonna do an AEW Dynamite review, motherfucks. I mean, it's getting to the point now. I don't know how to explain this. I don't want to say that they're getting, complacent, because I think they've always kind of been complacent. They've always kind of gone off of their whatever, like perceived star power. You know what I mean? More like the neckbeard star power. But what are you gonna do, right? But this episode just fell flat, you know? Like, there's a lot that they could do, and there was some good, you know what I mean? Like, look, let's take a minute, motherfuckers. Let's take a minute real quick and honestly be real about AEW, right? AEW sucks ass, like, we all know that, you know what I'm saying? But we gotta give credit where credit's due, right? Like, this is our second year, you know what I mean? And they're trying to be relevant, they're trying to stay relevant. They've done something incredible in the sense that this is the second biggest wrestling company in the world, you know, and it has been that basically since day one. You know what I mean? Now, AEW will never beat WWE, like everyone knows that. Tony Khan knows that, like every person involved knows that. However, there is always going to be a tiny chance that they do, right? A tiny, like, you know, 0.19,000 zeros, 1% chance. But the thing about AEW that we have to kind of like respect a little bit is the fact that at the end of the day, cucks, you know, let's call it like it is, right? Let's say it like it is. You know, you go ahead and try to create the second most successful company in any industry in 1 year, right? Now, granted, in wrestling, it's not a high bar, but it still costs a lot of money, you know? And kudos to the people involved that they had the balls to do it, you know? Cucky Rhodes and the Young Cucks could have gone to NXT, I'm sure. Well, perhaps not Cucky Rhodes, but the Young Cucks and Kenny Omega for sure could have gone to NXT, where they would have, like, you know, Bobby Roode-esque careers, like MSK Bobby Roode careers, let's be honest, right? Like, Kenny Omega was never going to be, like, the next, Roman Reigns, right? Like, he wasn't even going to be the next AJ Styles. Like, Kenny Omega would at best be, like, the next Finn Balor, you know what I mean? Or the next, like, Adam Cole. Like, that's his cap, like, let's be honest. But the facts are what the facts are. They took a chance. They decided to become their own bosses, you know? And the creative control element, there is an element, like, we overstated and we understated at times, right? Like, there's no creative element, you know, in the fact that, like, Kenny Omega is being creative, or, like, that's not really the thing. But there is a creative element in the sense that he gets to decide how often he wrestles, who's going to be champion, you know? He has creative control. The Young Cucks and Cucky Rhodes have creative control over the company. They don't have necessarily, like Darby Allen doesn't have creative control of anything. They're like, now you're going to be with Sting, shut the fuck up, ride a skateboard, jabron, you know? But the idea that creative control for the people that are on top exists is obviously true. Like, Triple H has creative control, you know what I mean? Vince McMahon obviously creates the product every week. He has created wrestling. Vince McMahon is wrestling, motherfucks. But let's not talk about that. So AEW, we gotta give some props, right? Like, they're continuing, you know? They could have easily gone out of business, you know? They could, especially considering the pandemic. But somehow they've held on, you know? I doubt they're profitable, but I have to give them respect. Now that we're done with that horse shit, let's get to the actual substance of the show, right? So, I mean, I don't know what to say about this. The show wasn't like anything special. Obviously, I think we all know that, you know what I mean? But, like, you know, it did what it was meant to do, you know, which is just fill in another week, you know? Just another week, basically. Another week of AEW wrestling that was honestly nonsensical and, in my opinion, very much the same as last week's. You know, the same mistakes were made last week. So what are you going to do, right? First up, we have Hangman Cuck versus Ricky Starks, right? Hangman Page, I mean, honestly, if this guy was in WWE, like, people would be asking for his release. Like, let's be honest, right? Like, what the fuck has this guy done? You know, like, they talked about how he's on this, like, incredible win streak, like a 12-match win streak. Where the fuck's his title shot, you know? In AEW, they wrestle, like, once every 3 weeks, which means Adam Page hasn't lost, like, he hasn't lost a match since, like, he turned face, basically, you know, since he, like, kind of turned and joined up with the Dark Order, you know what I mean? So, where's his title shot, right? You know, we have Ricky Starks, another guy who, like, they don't want to make this guy lose a match here and there, just because, like, there is some hope that this guy might have a future, you know? So they don't want him to, like, just carry these random losses, right? But it doesn't mean anything if you see him once every 9 weeks and he's beating like some, like Lee Johnson or whatever, like the Leon Ruff of AEW on AEW, like whatever, Dark or Elevation, which I've never seen, by the way, right? This means nothing, These two guys fighting each other, it was presented as if it was a big deal, but let's be real. Neither of these guys are going to, like, do anything important in the next year. Adam Page, I mean, if I'm being honest with Adam Page, like, the hype is done, man. Like, this guy is kind of a jobber. Like, I mean, he's athletic, and I give him props. He's athletic, and he can take a beating in those hardcore matches, but he doesn't have good moves. His finishing move is, like, a flipping clothesline. He basically does the thing that Jeff Hardy used to do to get into the ring back in the 90s, and then just walks 3 steps and does a clothesline. And it's presented as if it's like this devastating clothesline that no one can kick out of, right? The dead eye is pretty cool, but those are the only 2 moves of Adam Page that I can just think of off the top of my head. I think he does like the fall away slam with like a kip up. That's it, 3 moves, Talk about John Cena having 5 moves. This guy's got 3 moves. Ricky Starks, he's more entertaining in the ring, I believe. But it's like he's being bogged down by the fact that he's part of Team Taz. Like, Team Taz should be in the main event. Team Taz should be, like, wrestling every week. Like, why is it that I haven't seen Brian Cage wrestle in, like, months? It feels like, since the pay-per-view, which was, like, 2 months ago, 3 months ago. I don't remember him wrestling. He should be defending the FTW title. Like, in a meaningless manner, but at least have matches, Ricky Starks, there's something to be said about him. The fact that Taz's son is involved is completely immaterial. Like, I don't care. You know what I mean? But more on this a little bit later when we get to the Powerhouse Hobbs match by the Fox. The match wasn't bad, but what can you expect from this, right? Then we have Trent versus Penta El Cero Miedo, right? Now, Pentagon, I really like the direction that Pentagon is going here. You know what I mean? He's being positioned as like the leader of Death Triangle, which I think makes sense because he is the most interesting out of those 3 guys. He's very athletic too, but he's the least athletic, but he's the most interesting. Like, Pentagon, just based on his Lucha Underground career alone, and the fact that Adrian Neville just isn't good on the mic, and the fact that they already ruined him. Like, Pentagon is someone that you can present as a star because he's creepy looking, and now he's got, this guy, whatever the fuck his name is, like Alex or whatever, who's like his Alex Abrahantes, I think they called him, right? Who's his, like, basically his mouthpiece / manager, So, but thus far, Death Triangle is still being presented as 3 equals, It's just that, like, for some reason, Rey Fenix and Pac are the tag team contenders. And so this guy has to battle Trent. The feud here is obviously Death Triangle versus Best Friends. Like, Best Friends picked the feud, but, like, it's really weird because Death Triangle was, like, face. Like, they were wrestling Butch and Blade and fucking, what's his face? Eddie Kingston, and they were faces. And now they're, like, heels. And, like, Eddie Kingston's a face. It's really weird, you know what I mean? So, the match happened. The match was what you would expect. The finish was really cool, I thought. Right? So, you had, like, Orange Cassidy came up to, like, attack Abrahantes or whatever. Alex Abrahantes from behind. But Pentagon came behind him, super kicked him, right? Then Alex Abrahantes hits Trent with a microphone, and Pentagon hits the package pile driver, which I thought was actually pretty cool because it's like Alex Abrahantes was presented in a very interesting way, I thought, right? He was presented as a guy that just kind of just gives the message, like, and his argument is like, don't hurt me, like, I'm just translating, right? But he did it with this arrogance, right? As if, like, not only is he just translating, but he, like, agrees with Pentagon. Like, he's friends with Pentagon, and he doesn't like the other guys, He's, like, obviously a heel. So, this match I thought was pretty good just because of the finish. Nothing really interesting here. Again, not sure exactly how people are being positioned. It could be that Orange Cassidy and Pac are going to be, like, the ones that are, like, the main guys, I guess. But it seems like a 3-on-3, what's it called? The feud, right? JR interviewed the Pinnacle. All right. AEW needs to understand how things work. Consistently interviewing the same boring guys will not make them interesting. These guys are all boring. Not one of these guys, even Wardlow, is being dragged down by this horseshit faction, right? MJF is garbage. This guy is terrible. He's not good at all. You know what I mean? And honestly, a lot of what Jericho said 2 weeks ago in his promo were 100% true, as were the things that he said today. But more on that later, cucks. They interview him. Wardlow gives him a new scarf. This was like basically a counter promo to what Jericho said. Jericho basically said, like, you're a jobber, you're a mark, you're good for 25, but you're not really that entertaining, right? Like, you're never going to be Jericho, basically. And MJF is like, I am a mark for myself, or some horseshit like that, or a mark for for your spot or something. I forget what it was exactly. I think it was a mark for your spot. But the idea was that, like, MJF is taking this seriously, but I'm not interested in this feud at all. The only thing I'm interested in is just seeing Wardlow wrestle. If it weren't for that and Jericho, I wouldn't care about any of this, because I'm curious to see if Wardlow's going to do cool things. Couldn't give a shit what Shawn Spears is going to do in a blood and guts and glory match, whatever the fuck it's called, the glory hole match, right? I don't care about that. FTR hasn't said a word this entire feud. Proud and powerful, out and proud, as we call them around here. Those guys, like, I don't even know why they're in this faction anymore. Like, they have absolutely no purpose being in the inner circle. The inner circle is kind of a failure. This was not a good promo. I mean, I don't know. It was really dumb. At one point, Wardlow said Jericho was afraid of him and all this horseshit. It's like, dude, Wardlow, like, if you Wikipedia Wardlow, he probably doesn't even have a page. So there you have it. I mean, it's really dumb, because even if, like, obviously Pinnacle is probably going to win, it could go either way, because, like, the Inner Circle is, like, kind of being rebranded as well. But Pinnacle is probably going to get the dub in this one, motherfucks. But it's like, it doesn't mean anything, because first of all, even if you beat Jericho's like 53, right? And he has lost to people like Orange Cassidy. It's one thing to be 53 and protected, like Undertaker, right? It's another thing to be 53 and lose to Orange Cassidy in a champagne match, right? Now, there's nothing, you can't really put people over as much. So I didn't think this was really good at all. Like, Wardlow spoke. He probably shouldn't speak again. I mean, like, I'm not saying he was bad, but he's better than Shawn Spears. You know what I'm saying? He's better than FTR and everything. So it's like, who gives a fuck, right? Next up, we had Hikaru Shida versus Tai Conti from Brazil. So I like Tai Conti. Insofar as, like, these broads go, she's someone that's interesting and fun. She's like an attractive girl, does, like, a lot of cool moves. Her moves have cool names, like the DDT, because she's Tai Conti, right? And I think someone like her should be AEW champion. Now, I knew that the probability of that happening was basically zero. The only reason why it wasn't exactly zero is because Hikaru Shida has been champion for a year, and this is, like, literally a ripoff of Asuka. Let's call it like it is, right? They've picked a Japanese broad, and they're making her a long-term champion who hasn't lost a match in, like, 2 years. This is literally that, So I'm not interested in this, in Hikaru Shida anymore. I'm not going to say Hikaru Shida sucks. I actually think she's actually not bad. I think, like, the women's division in AEW is, like, better than WWE's women's division, because there's no people like Ember Moon and Sasha Banks and fucking, like, Peyton Royce, who probably isn't going to be in the AEW women's division soon enough, motherfucks. But there's none of these broads. I mean, they have, like, Brandy Rhodes, I guess, who, like, sucks ass. And they have a few other ones that are shitty, like Chris Statlander, who I don't like at all. But they got some good ones in AEW. They got some good ones. They got some diversity. Like people are different. They got Jade Cargill, who I think is entertaining. So I don't mind this, right? I don't mind Hikaru Shida versus Tai Conti. It's very rare that I actually would want to watch a women's wrestling match, because it's all botchy. But this was interesting. Now, obviously, I think we can all see the writing on the wall here. Some may see the writings on the wall, right? Obviously, Hikaru Shida is going to keep beating a few broads until Jade Cargill beats her ass. That's what's going to happen. That's what should happen. Except that's so predictable that I don't want to see it, cucks. So, the match actually wasn't bad. At the end, what's it called? I didn't really, like, pay attention to the end. I mean, let's be real. It's, I don't know. It's like she hit I think it's called the katana now, but it's that knee thing she does. I don't know. She's been champion, I think, for over a year, and there's this, like, idea that, like, she's credible. This idea that, like, because she's been champion, this is like a very WWE philosophy. It's like, if someone's been champion for, like, a year, all of a sudden they're credible, and the title is credible, and it's like, no, fam. Credible is after you lose the title, what do you do? So, for example, a good example of this is Asuka this week on Raw, right? Asuka is someone that, like, has been champion for a long time, and then she lost the title to like Rhea Ripley at Mania, and then she beat Charlotte. Not clean, but she beat Charlotte. So it's like, it's a good way to, like, reestablish the fact that Asuka is not gonna just go back to being a jobber, right? It's like when Samoa Joe lost to Kurt Angle, and then he beat Kurt Angle. Like afterwards, he didn't go and become a jobber. Or when Cena lost the title for the first time after he had like a 1,000-year title reign, I was like, oh shit, this guy's gonna get shuffled back into the mid card because I don't know if people can tolerate this booing, right? But no, Cena became Cena. So it's kind of like that in a sense, but we'll see what happens to Shida. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if like she starts losing to the next Shida, the same way that like Yuka Sakazaki or whoever the fuck the first champion was, Riho or Yuka Sakazaki, one of them, like the same way that she eventually started like winning, losing, trying to put over other people like Nyla Rose, like Hikaru Shida and other shit, right? The Inner Circle cut a promo. Jericho is great. He did a show tune. It's not really good, to be honest. Earlier in the segment from the Pinnacle, they said that last week's promo by Jericho was like the best promo of his career, which is preposterous. It wasn't. It was definitely a good promo. It was probably the best promo in the history of AEW, but it was not the best promo of Jericho's career by no metric whatsoever. Like every promo Jericho cut in 2008, 2009 was better than this one. So there you have it, cuts. I mean, I don't know. I wasn't really excited about this promo. Jericho once again made some good points. And one of the points that he made was that MJF feels rehearsed. And that is because he is rehearsed. This guy, like his lines are obviously memorized. He's not like a clever guy. He's not particularly great at delivering them. He doesn't have much charisma. He sucks. Next up, we had the undefeatable and undying Billy Gunn, who, in my opinion, should be AEW champion, motherfucks. Billy Gunn versus QT Marshall, what the fuck, whatever they call him, right? He had the factory in there. I mean, who gives a shit? Obviously, QT was going to win this one. Billy Gunn is like a seasoned jobber here, But the thing that bothered me was that what the Ogogo guy hit Billy Gunn, and that's what allowed, Marshall to hit the diamond cutter, motherfucks. And then, like, they're going to beat his ass, but Goldust comes out and saves him. And I'm just like, well, wait a second, man. You know what I'm saying? Wait a second, right? In what world is Goldust higher on the card than Billy Gunn? Like, he's never been higher on the card than Billy Gunn, except for, like, in 1994. Like, every other juncture where Billy Gunn and Goldust have simultaneously been in the company, Billy Gunn has been positioned as substantially higher than Goldust, right? But because this is AEW and nepotism rules all, he saves Billy Gunn. It is what it is. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. What are you gonna do? I don't know. I thought it was all right considering what it is. So we'll see what happens. Next we had Christian Cage, my favorite wrestler of all time, versus Powerhouse Hobbs, who is one of my favorite AEW guys. Truth be told, motherfucks, Powerhouse Hobbs just has this look. He has this face of this like angry, like kind of ugly, like I don't know how to explain it, but like let's just put it this way: the name Powerhouse Hobbs fits him very well. You know what I'm saying? He has that powerhouse like workhorse looking face where he's just like a guy that you feel like if me and Powerhouse Hobbs were to like move a young couple from a one-bedroom apartment to a bigger one-bedroom apartment, I feel like he would be the perfect partner to have to do a move. More so than Brian Cage for some reason. I don't know. It's his face, right? So the match, again, it was a meaningless and fruitless match because obviously Christian Cage is going to win. This is literally the same run he had in TNA. First up, he fought Monty Brown, who was like their version basically of Powerhouse Hobbs in the sense that he's a guy that like if you beat him, you know what I mean? Like there's some weight, there's some stock in beating Powerhouse Hobbs or beating Monty Brown because they're big, strong guys, and Powerhouse Hobbs is being positioned as a guy that will have a future. So like there's some stock, but they're not exactly there yet, right? It's not like he beat Dean Ambrose or Kuki Omega, right? He beat Powerhouse Hobbs. Of course this is going to happen, and I think everyone who's watched a Christian Cage match when he wrestles as a face would know that this match would end exactly how it did. Christian is going to reverse something into the Unprettier, and he's going to hit the Unprettier in like the fast version where he just does it, Because typically he always has to like hook the guy's arms and try to turn him over. It doesn't work, and sometimes he just kind of snaps into place, and that's what he did here. He pinned Powerhouse Hobbs. Powerhouse Hobbs though did look good. Powerhouse Hobbs looked like a threat. You know, he was beating the shit out of Christian. There was a lot of times that Taz on commentary, which was good because Taz was like, it's over. Like, you might as well just like give Powerhouse Hobbs, you know, the win, right? And of course Christian was going to win, but there was like an opportunity to put Powerhouse Hobbs over, and they did, which I like. Next up, we had the completely meaningless and useless match of all time called Darby Allin versus Jungle Boy. Now, typically, this match would be something that I would really enjoy because I'm starting to like Jungle Boy a little bit. And I'll tell you why, because he's a son of an actor. Yeah, he's a pretty good wrestler, right? He's not using that as nepotism. He's not Dusty Rhodesing it, you know? Like, they mentioned the fact that he's Luke Perry's kid, but beyond that, he's just Jungle Boy. He doesn't want that leg up that Cucky Rhodes has. You know, I'm sure he's already a millionaire because of his dad, you know, so it's like, I'm sure he'll be all right anyways. So he doesn't have this pressure to like make it, right? But he's going to make it because he's entertaining, you know? He doesn't really botch much, you know? But the same problem that Jungle Boy has is the same problem that Darby Allin has. And it was really highlighted in this match because they're wrestling each other. What should be a classic match between two cruiserweight types. Like, imagine, I was thinking during this match, imagine if AEW just, you know, set up the AEW Light Heavyweight Championship. You know? Light Heavyweight Championship. And instead of having Darby Allin be like, whatever, the TNT champion, make him the Light Heavyweight AEW champion, right? And just have him go on this incredible win streak, right? Against people like Jungle Boy and like other, like Sonny Kiss maybe, like these smaller people, right? And then eventually, you can have like Darby Allin, you know, challenge like the world heavyweight champion to like a match, you know, and almost win, right? Or even win if that's what you want, you know, to really put over the cruiserweight dynamic. Because Darby Allin as a mid-card champion is just not believable, you know? He's just not believable. But as a cruiserweight, this would be a great match because these guys are about the same size, more or less. So like it wouldn't be inconceivable for Darby Allin to suplex Jungle Boy or vice versa. So the match went on and on and on. And it was very similar to Matt Hardy's match with Darby Allin in the sense that Darby Allin, like I knew the Jungle Boy had zero chance of winning unless AEW is retarded, right? Because obviously, if this guy can go through a table and twist the fate with a chair, then he should have no problem getting out of a snare trap. You know what I'm saying? Like he should have no problem escaping Jungle Boy and beating Jungle Boy, which is exactly what happened, Cucks. But instead of beating Jungle Boy decisively, he hit that Last Supper. You know, which is, I don't even know if the word hit is correct because he did the Last Supper. It's not even like an impact move. He did the Last Supper, and there you go. You know, that was the end of that. He did the Last Supper and pinned him. And like, the Last Supper is a very unconvincing pin, but whatever, it is what it is, right? Then Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page, who in my opinion should be released, came in and attacked everybody. Like, I don't know why these guys are even in the company, you know? There isn't enough time to put everyone on TV as it is. You know, there's not enough time, so they have to put them in the same team together, right? Just have them join Team Taz at least, you know? Think about it this way, Cucks. Yesterday, this week's episode of AEW, you know what I'm saying? We had 2 matches involving Team Taz. There's no need for that, you know? I'd rather have Team Taz on every week than have them on every 5 weeks, but have them have 2 matches, you know? Team Taz should be in matches like, you know, like 6-man tags against Jurassic Express, right? To showcase all these guys. They should be dominating people. You know, they should, like, if they introduce like a 6-man tag team championship, right? Like the champions for the first 3 years should be Team Taz under the Freebird rule. Let Taz in on it and let Hook in on it. You know, obviously the main 3 guys that would be wrestling would be Powerhouse Hobbs, Ricky Starks, and Cage. But they should be like winning every match. You know what I mean? These guys are like some of the only people in this company that look like and feel like men. You know, they actually feel and act like men. There aren't that many in this company. You got a lot of weirdos and a lot of little boys, but not enough men. And even Ricky Starks, who's like the most like effeminate out of all 3 of these guys, looks like a man, right? Brian Cage, he's a little goofy, but whatever. Obviously, he looks like a man. He's like the biggest guy in the company, right? Powerhouse Hobbs is very masculine as well. He has this like demeanor, this no nonsense thing, and it really fits him well. Even Hook and Taz are more masculine than people like fucking, you know, Cody Rhodes, right? Like way more masculine. So there you got it, Cucks. You know, nothing really happened here. The attack by Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page makes absolutely no sense. What would make sense is if Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page attack and defeat SCU, right? They attack and defeat SCU, and break up SCU. That would be a good feud. You can have a story there by itself. Not this horseshit of them attacking Darby Allen. Then eventually they get saved by fucking, what's it called? By Lance Archer, right? Lance Archer comes and saves them. Like this one week this guy hates Sting, the next week he loves Sting. I don't know what's happening here, and I don't really care, to be honest. Right? Sting took out Luchasaurus, who kind of cheated a little bit. And I'm thinking to myself, if you're gonna actually have Sting do this every week, like just have him do it in a match at least, you know? At least we can get excited, you know? Sting hasn't had a real match since he's returned, and that's preposterous. This guy's not gonna get younger next year, motherfucks. You're gonna have him here, you know, keep him there, do whatever you want with him, but give him the opportunity to have a match here and there. Like he can do his 4 or 5 little strikes, he can hit the Scorpion Death Drop, and that can be it. He can just do that and win the match just like that. I'm not saying have him have like a 30-minute epic, you know? Have him do like a 10-minute match on a pay-per-view and a 3-minute match on Impact. You know what I'm saying? Like once in a Impact, what the fuck it's called? Dynamite, once in a while, right? So that didn't happen. Darby Allin obviously won, as we said, and let's call it like it is, Cox. Let's call it like it is. Absolutely nothing was furthered this week. Like if this episode didn't happen, like if this episode wasn't produced, no one would care. Like nothing would change. No storyline was furthered, right? The Pinnacle versus the Inner Circle was not furthered. It's exactly where it was last week. Exactly, motherfucks. Exactly where it was last week. Sting and his involvement with Darby Allin is exactly where it's been for the last 3 months. Lance Archer is doing the exact same thing. You know what I mean? The only thing that was, like, not advanced, but that actually had some build-up at least, was Trent versus Pentagon. And nobody really cares about that either, you know? Darby Allin is still going to be undefeated until the next, like, big person comes and, like, defeats him and it's going to be presented as a big deal. You know, maybe Cookie Rhodes himself. I don't know. Why isn't Cookie Rhodes going after this? I mean, what else is he doing? Where is Cody Rhodes, by the way? I didn't see him this week, which is weird. And then this entire, like, Bullet Club reunion thing is not good, motherfucks. It's not entertaining, you know? Like, we get it. Don Callis, his whole thing is like, Kaki Omega is the best wrestler in the world, and blah, 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 right? The Young Bucks are now full-blown heels. You know, it's really corny, and nobody cares about them. And you have the Good Brothers there for some reason, you know? I don't know when the next Impact pay-per-view is. I think it's soon. I don't care what happens. The only thing that would be slightly interesting would be if, like, I don't know what the card is, but I have a feeling that Kaki Omega is going to eventually win a TNA title, and they're going to have, like, this, you know, multi-brand situation, right? Because let's call it like it is. The fact that Gallows and Anderson were the Impact Tag Team Champions, and the fact that Kenny Omega appeared on Impact a few times means absolutely nothing. It's just presented as a huge deal, but it meant absolutely nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like nothing was gained from this. Like who gained from this? Nobody, motherfucks. So there you have it. Another week of AEW, another week of shit. Now the only question remains, how are AEW's, what's it called? Ratings looking now that we have this, now that the Wednesday Night War is over, you know what I mean? Like, what is it looking like? Is it double what it used to be? Is it over 1 million? Well, it says here that last week it was 1.2 million. The week before that it was 600,000. Let's see here. How many viewers did AEW get? Let's see here, motherfucker. 934,000. So even without NXT, they can't break 1 million consistently. Let's call it like it is. This show is not working out with respect to actually drawing big dick numbers. You know what I'm saying? No big dick numbers here, motherfuckers. So there you have it. And with that being said, motherfuckers, I'll talk to you bitches later, motherfuckers.